let me know when.
No.
And she's going to bug it in. All good? Alright, looks like we're live. Better than being 6 feet under.
That's
Hi guys. Hi guys, how are you all? Just turn the volume up on your phones. Sometimes people can't hear too well and it's just because their volume's down. And also, if you can't hear, just let us know if there's no noise whatsoever coming through. Just type it in the chat. Yeah, hope you're doing all well in this crazy old world we live in at the moment. Tonight we're going to have a bit of a chat about wintertime in general. And also we've got our Fingermark and Foragers course on sale starting tomorrow. The card will be open tonight. How many days does it go for, babe? I forgot.
Only 4.
4 days. Anyway, it's a great course. It's a great all-around course for many, many species because they all do such a similar thing. Whereas our other species courses like barras and threadies, they do their own particular things. So, but this is very generic. But anyway, let's get on to the winter time. We'd like to hear where you're from as well. We might have a few new people tuning in tonight as well. So we're interested to hear where you're from, in Australia or overseas, all that sort of thing. And yeah, we're just going to have a bit of a talk about winter. It's a change of seasons now, and yeah, you can expect all kinds of changes. And it's I think down south just had its first really big cold snap a few days ago with South Queensland. Anyway, I'm not sure about New South Wales and that, but it's that time of year. So I thought I'd. And also, if you've got any questions, guys, you can put them in the chat and we'll get to them towards the end, or even on the way through, sorry. Karen usually interrupts me and lets me know when I've got to answer a few questions. All right, well, let's get started. But first, I thought I might talk a little bit about, before we get on to fishing too much, a little bit about the weather, because I do get people asking me a lot about why in wintertime you get these really strong winds inshore sometimes, and then it backs off around mid-morning to lunchtime. And what they are, they're land breezes, and it mostly happens when you get your colder snaps on your colder days, not so much during the few warmer periods you'll get through winter. It doesn't really happen, but what it basically is when you have, as soon as the sun goes down and during the night, the ocean is a lot warmer than the land. The land gets very cold overnight and the ocean remains warm. So what happens in the morning when the sun rises, it actually starts to pull that hot air up off the sea, and it pulls all the cold air off the land out underneath it. And that's why in against the coastline you might have a south or southwesterly. This is mostly in Queensland on the coast here, but it does happen in many areas, of course. It just depends on your topography in some places, but it does happen in many, many areas. So what happens is the sun comes up, it lifts that hot air up, warmer, sorry, not hot, but warmer air up off the ocean, and then that pulls that cold air in from the land. So all of a sudden, you might be calm or 5 to 10 knots in a bay inshore, but then it actually, as soon as you get out that little bit, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And sometimes, you know, you can get 20, 25 knots and on the coldest evenings and mornings. So that's what basically happens. And it'll happen for a few hours, generally 3 to 4 hours. And when the sun actually heats up the land, that pulls that effect down, and the winds back off and you get a beautiful day for the rest of the day. So it's usually from around 6 till 10 in the mornings you get these nasty little land breezes that blow off the shore, and the further out you go the worse it gets. So that's why that happens. And it's the opposite in summertime. We get the sea breezes coming in the afternoons. That's when the land is very hot and the ocean is actually cooler. It's the opposite effect. So as the land gets really hot during the day and it gets hotter than the air offshore, it then pulls in those sea breezes underneath it in the afternoons. So that's how all that basically works. So in wintertime, you can sometimes on the colder periods in winter, you can expect those land breezes, the southwesterlies. But if it's a little bit southeast, it generally is a little bit warmer. So it doesn't sort of happen as much. And I'm talking that this is also outside the changes when you get a big high ridging up the coast. That's just going to blow regardless.
Clara said, does that also affect the swells?
The swells? Not particularly, no, because it's blowing off it doesn't really affect the swell. The swell is driven by the ocean, basically, and that'll always come in on shore. This is blowing off the land. It's more of a chop, but if it gets 20-25 knots, it'll still be a pretty big, nasty, short, sharp sea.
Clara in Cooktown.
Yeah, how are you, Clara? We haven't been up for a while. So that's basically how all that works. So in winter time, just be wary on the colder periods that you might get some nastier winds offshore in the mornings for a while. But don't worry, it'll die out, and you'll have some beautiful days after that. So, and sometimes it pays to head out around 9:30, 10 o'clock and follow some of that chop out, and then you get out 20 miles and it just flattens out, and then you can fish the rest of the day or into the evening a little bit. So if you don't want a really rough ride out, just head out around sort of 9, 10 o'clock and come back late. That's what I used to do a little bit. And just be prepared also for the opposite in summertime. Just remember, in the afternoons around lunchtime, we do get big northeasterlies or easterlies coming in as the sea breeze. So that's how it basically all works up here on our coastline from sort of the Brisbane north, and that cooling effect with the land breezes will happen in many other areas as well. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that, where you are, if you live outside the Queensland coastline, how it actually happens in your area. So there's always those effects. No matter where you are, there'll be some kind of different effect between the hot land, cool land, and a hot ocean and a cool ocean. Right, so...
Clara said, the reason I asked, got into trouble with a flat battery and had to ask for assistance and noticed that the waters did do as you said, and it was a cooler evening 3 nights ago, but the swell picked up.
The swell picked up. Yeah, that could be, that's like I say, if there's going to be like a ridging up the coast or anything like that, that's kind of outside this effect. That'll do just different things. You'll just get your big southeasters blowing up the coast and that. So that's probably more related to that. This is more when you have a 10 to 15 knot forecast or something like that, and you get really cold mornings, it can be outside that forecast. You can just get that 20 to 25 knots blowing offshore just for those few hours in the morning. So it's a little bit different. Yeah.
We've got a question on a Garmin from Mitch, but I'll just bounce that back and stick to winter for a second. Someone has said Bulla Ryan from Fiji.
Bulla, how are you, mate?
And Newcastle, a few other people.
Cool.
On the topic of Fingermark, Jack said, hey mate, I love your work. I live in Serena. Been trying to catch some Fingermark but struggling to find any. Just wondering if they hang out on the reefs just off the beaches, like 200 to 300 metres offshore. Yeah,
certainly. They certainly will. But certain tides, they'll be there, of course. And they do probably prefer, deeper trenches and bits and pieces on your lesser tides, but they will come into those inner reefs. Quite often, they're the best places you can actually troll hard bodies for them, deep divers. Most of those inner reefs, I'm guessing, might be sort of 5 to 8 metres where you are. So that's a good zone for actually trolling, covering a bit of ground and actually looking, so you can do some assessment while you're looking around and you've got a couple of lures out. So give that a try next time. Just go around the fringes of those little inshore reefs and you might be surprised what you'll pick up. You also might pick up a few bar-cheek trout even. So, we'll hang on. We got a technical issue.
You've just got sparkles. Remember once I pushed the wrong button and you got some sort of weird effect going on?
I'm not a teenage girl.
At least I didn't put makeup on you.
Anyway, we must have bumped the phone while putting it in the holder.
Yeah.
So if I look like a queen.
No, you just got snowflakes dancing around you.
Oh, bloody hell. Hang on. We got Stephen here. He's going to get rid of it. He's our young technical dude.
Well, he's trying to work that out.
Yeah.
As I said, I've definitely experienced that in Moreton Bay. Nigel Colcott said big fingers out around Knight Island, I've been told.
Ah, okay, Night Island. There you go.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay.
Oh, you fixed it.
Oh, good. I don't look like a queer anymore.
Well, it didn't affect you. I think the last time something happened to you, but this time...
Is that like on the Kit Kat ad with the two wizards? Anyway, any more questions?
More questions.
Yep.
Do you remember Brody Orr?
Brody Orr. I do remember ORR, one of my clients. I just...
No, OAR.
Look, I see... Or OAR.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Not sure.
I know a lot of people know me, but I've got a really bad memory for names. It's weird. I know GPS marks
You
like
remember every fish
thousands.
you caught.
Yeah, in my head. You can just ask me, where's this? And I'll rattle off the GPS marks. It's like a cross-reference in my head.
Yeah.
But you tell me your name and I'll forget it in 3 seconds. So I work a little bit differently to most people.
So Troy said, I find the same thing in Bass Strait on the
Bass
cold
Strait,
mornings.
yeah.
I always thought it was an error in predictions.
No,
It roughs
no.
up early when it's not supposed to, but once it's mid-morning lunch, it flattens off.
That's why the Bureau of Meteorology have that little clause down the bottom that says wave height and winds could be 40% higher than predicted. Yeah.
Someone said you look okay in New Zealand. You're on Facebook.
Thanks, guys.
Let's just bounce over to Instagram.
Yep.
Dry season, what time would you fish top water?
Dry season? Well, is what sort of top water though? Is it sort of reef?
We'll get some clarification.
Get some clarification, well, top water on the reef all year round actually, and trout sort of do go a little bit better in the winter period, as many of them do come a little bit shallower. So the trout on top water do go a little bit better in winter. Trouble is, you've got to get out there. And up here on the trade winds, the further north you go, I've spoken about this before, but to all the new people, when we get our trade winds, which are our big southeasters that ridge up the coast with the high pressure systems that move through the Australian Bight and across Tassie, the further south they are, the stronger the ridge is, and the stronger the winds the further north. So up in Cairns here, it can be blowing, 30 knots, and Townsville might be 20 to 25. The Whitsundays might be 15 to 20, and south of the Whitsundays might be 10 to 15. So the further south you are in Queensland, the better it is during the trade wind periods. And we just had to race off a little while ago because we got invited into the Topwater Film Invitational this year. And we didn't get a great deal of notice, but I thought, oh no, should we accept this? Because we're heading straight into the trade winds now, and it's going to make, getting out the reef. And well, if anything, we would have went to Lizard to do reef top water. The trouble is, it just blows and blows and blows up there. There's just no breaks at all in the winter.
That's why we go up in cyclone season.
That's why we go up there in cyclone season, yeah. Because if you've got a cyclone, you know where to go or get home if it's a big one, But during the trades, it just constantly blows 25s up there. It's just insane. So, yeah, that's why we made the call for the top water. We end up going down to Hinchinbrook and concentrating on some barra. I can't say what happened, but... it's you guys will see it when voting starts. It's $5 to watch all 10 competitors' videos, and I think it's the TFI website. But we'll be putting some more promos and plugs on before that happens, so you'll all get to know when you can jump over there and watch it. Support it. It's a great little initiative. This is our first year.
Stephen has been absolutely making the fishing film of the
century
for us.
Yeah,
we are so pleased.
We had a lot of challenges. As soon as we found out we were in it, we got right. The trades are going to start. The water's cooling. The barras are going to go into interchange, which means they're going to shut down for weeks. Quite a few weeks. Will be very, very hard to get to bite till I get used to the cold water. And I've gone, oh no, should we do this or not? So we accepted the challenge, and we were lucky to get a 2-day break in the weather. So we took the caravan down, the game boat, and we towed the 6 metre down. We called into a reef on the way and had a bit of fun, but then we went to Hinchinbrook and we done top water on barra. But
big barra.
Big saltwater barra. It's a great video. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a strange.
Oh yeah, there's a
strange challenge.
There's a strange challenge at the end.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about having a challenge with these things. Yeah. Giving yourself it was challenging enough as it bloody was, but.
So talking about Hinchinbrook, Carl and Parker have asked a similar question. Well, not quite, but you can answer them together. Any good spots at Hinchinbrook you would like to share, and tips for Barra in winter? Can you combine those two questions?
Right. I can't give GPS marks out or anything like that, because actually, when we went down to Hinchinbrook, I haven't been down there for quite a while. I noticed after the big massive floods this year that a lot of the rubble piles in the channel that we traditionally catch Fingermark off, a lot of them are gone. There must have been a hell of a lot of water coming down the Herbert River to actually flatten a lot of those hills in 15 to 20 metres of water. So it's all changed a bit down there now. Most of the places that still have fish on them are the ones with a bit of structure that couldn't wash away, of course, but a lot of our best grounds down there were on rubble piles. So it's going to take a number of years for those to build back up properly again, but yeah, that's just one of those things. So everything's changed down there a bit, but I will say that in the wintertime, your barras will aggregate a lot more, and but they will be in lesser areas, because during the summer they'll actually spread out a little bit more. You'll still find them in schools here and there when they're doing their relaxing kind of mood.
Well, a lot of near-shore estuary fish do the same thing.
Well, that's what I was going to talk about tonight when we got onto fishing. Okay, we were doing weather first, but you've interrupted me.
Sorry. We've got lots of questions.
Lots of questions. All right, well, we can do that too. It doesn't matter, you know.
Garmin 300C, any good? That's from Mitch.
300C? 300C? God, that must be old.
Don't know about that one?
I don't know about that one, mate. 300C.
Okay. Yeah.
Might have been around the 5000 series time. Sorry, mate. I really don't know. No.
Sorry, can't help you.
No, I haven't played with any older units. Back in those days, I was probably using Furuno and Humminbird. I've been using Garmin for the last sort of 10 years. I've switched over to. So yeah, sorry, mate, I can't help you with that one. Yeah.
Garmin 300C. How long since you caught a barramundi cod, Ryan?
How long
That's
since?
Stewie Worth.
Stewie, how are you, mate? Barramundi cod. Well, I've seen plenty diving, but the last one I've actually caught myself must have been, probably 8 or 9 years ago.
You can buy them now. Garmin Echo 300C.
300C. Well, I just haven't.
It's a
little tiny one, is it? Yeah. Like I don't keep up with every single thing with
3.5 inch.
3.5 inch. Yeah, if it's a small one, mate, it's.
I'll give you the details.
I mean, I guarantee you.
300 watt sounder.
Yep.
Viewing angle of 120 degrees, bottom detail to 1500 feet.
Yeah. It's a lesser powered.
200 to 77 kilohertz dual beam.
Yeah, well, that's medium.
300 watts.
That's medium high frequency. So it's and it's only 300 watts. So that's an inshore unit only, and you might. Yeah, you'll see bottom probably out to, 80 metres properly for good fish recognition, but after that it's going to kind of vanish.
It says 150 usable depth, but that's just to find the bottom to actually fish.
Yeah. I mean, sounders will see so far. I mean, a 1 kilowatt sounder, on low frequency, you'll see, you'll read in 1,000 and 1,200 metres of water, but your fish recognition close to the bottom drops out around 700 metres. So that's how that works. But yeah, sorry, mate, I didn't even know about that model. It's one of the smaller, lesser ones, and I've been really busy the last few years. I just, you can't keep up with everything.
There's so many models on the market.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how do I get vibes and baits down to the bottom of pylons fishing for fingers under wharves in 15 metres deep with 2 to 3 metres of tidal run? That's from Brent on YouTube. 2 to 3
metres of tidal run, probably not the best time of year best time of the tides to be doing that. Way too much run. You might find the Fingermark probably not there. They're probably doing other things like foraging.
It's
But
all in our Finding Forages
that's all in our
course,
Finding Forages
which will show you
course.
exactly where they're going to be.
But if you are gonna drop vibes down on a jetty, you have to do it on the upcurrent side, because you're doing it on the side. If the fish are sitting under there looking forward, if you're doing it on the side where the current's going to take your vibe away, well, you're not presenting it to fish. You've got to do it the other way around, which then makes it hard because you're going to get snagged up around the pylon. So it's probably something you should probably be looking at doing on lesser tides.
Clara said, I got a trout when I went out on top water on the flats in 3 metres with your scale blazer.
Oh, good on you, mate. Those scale blazers work really well on the flats, eh?
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
What minimum temperature would be for Barra?
Minimum temperature, it depends, if you're up in the Northern Territory or whether you're further south down the Queensland coast or WA. The average period we find around here to Townsville and further south is, they start kind of getting a little bit difficult around 21 degrees. But once the temperature gets down, as long as it doesn't get under 22 too much, you'll find if it settles at that area for a while, then you can get them to come back on the bite again. But it just takes a little while to get used to it. It's a bit like us, really, I suppose, isn't it? As the winter gets colder, we slowly get used to it, and before you know, we get out in the morning in our t-shirts instead of a flannelette. So yeah, it's a bit similar to how we operate, really. So that's what I noticed, and as I mentioned before, we went down to film our topwater video. What we call the interchange is that period where the water sort of goes from around 27 degrees down to 22, and that happens over a month and a half kind of thing, and maybe 2 months, and that's the period where they get a little bit more unpredictable, shorter bite periods, and you can sit on them for ages sometimes on aggregated schools and find it very difficult to get to bite. There's a few tricks and bits and pieces that's in our Barra course. And to our Barra students, any Barra students watching, we are adding new videos over the next year, and we're going to we've got a lot of the advanced content in the chat and all that sort of thing, so we're going to bring that out into the course, and we talk about winter a lot in the chat, but we are going to do a module on the webinars and that, but we are going to do a module on that. So there's going to be a lot of changes in Barra Basics over the next 12 months.
Yeah. 2 questions on gear. One, a good reel for chasing Barra and Jacks for $300, and we've also been asked what kilo rod do you use for live baiting for Barra. I use that around 4 to 7 kilos. Any recommendations? We do have a gear and inshore cheat sheet. Free training on our website, which explains what Warren's uses for live baiting and we've got the offshore cheat sheet as well. So there's 2 cheat sheets on our free training on our website. Yeah. You can sign up and line what he recommends. You don't have to get the exact thing. You don't have to get the exact thing.
It's just a great example of what to get. Yeah. And there's that many brands and stuff out there now that'll have similar things. It all depends on your budget, really.
And we've got reels and rods on there, hooks, line, lures, electronics.
Most of the more reputable brands, they're all pretty good these days. I'm still using Quantum reels that I've had for years. They're fantastic. I like using the smokes, the Quantum Smoke HD. I'm not quite sure how much they are now, but I think they're around the 300 mark. I don't know where you can get them from these days, but do a bit of searching. But Shimano and Daiwa, they all have some pretty good products. And
what kilo do you use for live baiting for Barra?
For Barra, it's up to you. But in my early days down in Townsville, we used to live bait a fair bit, and we used to sit out in the open country in certain areas, certain kind of open territories, and we used to live bait for giant barras, and we used to fish as light as 2 kilo. I had a whole bunch of blokes used to come up just for specialists.
I got that 96 on 4.
Yeah, you got that 96 with me years ago.
Because they're not dirty fighters, and Ryan doesn't like mosquitoes, and so he doesn't like fishing around the snags. So that's what we do teach in Barra Basics, is how to catch them in open water, and that's what you'll see in the TFI International.
Yeah, I do fish around snags.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't get right up tight in the mangroves. Yeah. Well, actually, I know traditionally people target barras around snags and all that kind of thing, and I mean, yeah, great. You get a lot of schoolies, you get the odd big fish, but there are so many different habitats and places where people just drive straight over in open water, where you can catch big barra, and that's in our advanced section.
You caught that 2000s metery.
At the mouth of the marina. 200 metres from the marina. After 3 boats just ran over the top of them. Yeah.
Now.
Did I answer that last question properly? The rods? Can't remember.
Well, we've directed them to the Gear and Tackle cheat sheet, our free training. Go to our website, go to the menu, free training.
No, what I was saying was it depends on what you want to do. If you're in open water, you can fish as light as, 2, 3, 4 kilo if you wanted that sport fishing side of things. But if you don't want fish to get away in a hurry, or if you want to get a couple into the boat to take home for a feed, then you'd use probably 10 kilo, 20 pound as your main line. And of course, what you would do, you would use a rod that has a blank suitable for that particular line class, and that's where going to the tackle shop will help. And if you're going to use mono, you want a fiberglass rod more than anything for live baiting. And if you're lure casting, same kind of thing. Well, lure casting, you probably, if you're going to do it around structure, probably an 8 to 10 kilo rod and 10 kilo braid. But if you're chasing barras in the open more and say a hole or an open ledge in the middle of nowhere where they're not going to snag you up, you can go as light as you want. That's the guys in Townsville, they started the 4 pound comp years ago, and that goes every year, where the guys use 4 pound braid on lures only, and they just chase barras in various areas, I guess, and that's all on lighter line. So depends on the country, and just make sure that you match up your rods and your line to be correct line weights.
Now we're going to go a bit contentious. Mate, do you think the 90 million or whatever the tit-turd government are going to spend on shark development will help us weekend fishers?
Well, it all depends on what that development is. And I know Director of Fisheries Dallas is probably watching tonight. How are you, mate? So far, we haven't heard too much more about them. The workshops that have happened so far about the shark depredation is, so far they're talking more about mitigation through using repellents, devices. A lot of the guys that have gone to those meetings have more or less, they're shaking their heads, a bit like myself. That's not really going to
$100 or $200 each. I mean, how many are going to lose?
If you're a charter operator and you've got 6, 8, 10 guys fishing around a boat and they've all got a device on their lines, because they only work within a couple of metres or something, a few metres, someone catches a GT or a trevally, and then everybody catches that trevally, and you have a massive tangle, you lose one of those devices, there's your day's profit gone. Yeah. So, pointless for the charter guys. Where this is going to end up, who knows, honestly. It's worldwide, this issue.
We need to work out a commercial use for sharks.
It needs to be...
We need to start eating them.
Yeah, we don't want them wiped out. No. I mean, I like sharks. I love tigers, whites, makos, threshers, hammerheads. Not a problem. Not a problem. Whalers, you protect whalers in the same basket as all those other species, you got massive problems, and that's what happened. Yeah. All those protection measures that came in around 2010 and onwards and all that worldwide is now biting us. And honestly, it is contentious, and I'm getting stirred up.
We need to start eating. All right, let's go back to Fingermark.
We'll have to take things into our own hands if they don't come up with something that's... Yeah, and also we are able to take one shark under 1.5 metres, so I think people should just start doing it. Yeah. Take it home and feed it to your dogs if you don't like eating shark. But I also heard that, we haven't tried it yet, we were going to do a blog on it when we get a chance, that bull sharks are actually not bad eating.
Yeah, so we need to do some shark recipes.
Yeah, might have to come up with a shark recipe book.
Yeah. Actually,
get people taking them home. Probably.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Let's go catch some sharks and make a shark recipe book.
Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing, when I was on the flight back from the States a month or so ago, I watched some doco on sharks, and the American researchers were trying to create artificial reefs that attracted fish but not sharks. It's like, why do you think they're going there? The fish. Anyway,
the world's full of idiots these days, so we won't go there either.
Graduate that's never been on a boat, come up with that one. Hey mate, quick question, back on the Fingermark, on the close-in reefs, would you prefer to fish a new moon or a full moon for them?
Probably your new moon periods are better. I mean, we have caught them around the falls as well. But yeah, we used to do really well on the new more than anything, because it was a bit easier to catch bait, and your squid would come a little bit closer and they'd aggregate a little bit more, and that was give you better bait opportunities. But yeah, it's much of a muchness. But if anything, around the darker moon is the better period.
Tommy said you should get a Honda outboard for your boat.
Honda?
Yeah.
Well,
fight Suzuki's off. Yeah.
Well, I've got a Yami and a E-Tech E-Bomb at the moment, so yeah, I don't know if I'll be changing brands anytime soon.
Yeah.
But
you guys like the clappers, that E-Tech of yours.
The G2, apart from the steering sensors, are actually a great engine. I know the G1s actually spoiled it for Evinrude and they gave them a bad name, but the G2s, the only part in a G2 that's the same as a G1 is the trim switch on the motor. They're fully German engineered and totally different motor in every way. But then Evinrude just stopped making stuff and stopped making or Bombardier stopped making outboards. So yeah, that's how that all kind of happened. But so the G2s are not such a bad engine. We've had a great run out of this. We've done a couple of steering sensors though, and that's a known problem in them.
Graham said, I fish for bull sharks in the Logan. They're fantastic eating. Graham, email us a recipe. Email
a recipe, mate. We'll put it in the book and credit you.
Tommy said flake back on the menu. That's it. I'm going to make it.
Well, Coles and Woolies, I think it was Peter Garrett that done that. They banned them from selling shark. And that was one of the things. A lot of the commercial shark guys have been shut down, you know, over time, and you know, the quota restrictions and all kinds of things.
And it's going to be worse when they get rid of all the gill nets, because everyone's like, oh, good, gill nets are gone. A, where next?
Well, the gill nets are that restricted now. I think recreational.
They catch the little baby sharks.
That's right. Commercial and recreational have got to start getting along. I think they are these days. Actually, there is a much better repertoire between the two sectors now, and it's good to see because, you know, honestly, we've got tons of fish in the ocean. It's not depleting at all. No. It's the trout are better than ever. You know.
If you've got trouble catching them, do some of our courses, and I'll show you some tricks.
Tricks, yeah. But yeah, we've got to get together anyway and fight this crap that's going on with trying to lock us out, kick us out. Yeah. You know, restrict this, restrict that.
Everything's endangered.
Sharks are endangered.
Reefs dying.
The coral's dead. Fucking hell.
We find it.
We can't find the dead coral. Yeah. We're either blind or we're going to the wrong areas.
Daniel said, great info. What's your thoughts on chasing fingermark in winter? I've been doing well in summer, but I've yet to try these cold months.
Well, you'll probably find that in the summertime you might have caught them in more open areas where there might have been a bit of rubble or something like that. You're probably going to find that they're not going to be so much around those kind of areas. They're not going to move around as much. And in wintertime, yeah, they will aggregate on bits and pieces out in the open, but you know, they're not going to be on every single spot. They're going to be in bigger numbers, but in lesser areas.
Have you ever fished Lake Macquarie, Newcastle area?
Nope. No, I haven't.
I caught a big Jew off the break wall there.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well,
I was fishing for bream with a
come and sit here for 5 seconds.
true turn hook.
Okay. Bit of a tongue twister there, honey.
Yeah, and 20 minutes later, I caught my big Jewy.
There you go.
And actually, my partner at the time caught a massive Jew off the break wall as well, with live worms, and we had to land it on the beach. It was too big to get up there.
There you go.
Good mile away.
That's right. Even though I might not have fished down there, mate, I know through our course students that a lot of our techniques and stuff up here actually work down there for all the other, that's in the Fingermark course, works down there for your snappers and all sorts of things. So
heaps of our students are from the southern states,
Yep.
New Zealand,
WA,
overseas.
South Africa, the boys over, some of the Ilajanas they get over there, they're different to ours, they're similar in shape, but they're different, but they're catching them in the same kind of things, the
It's
same
a very,
kind of
very
habitats.
good generalist course, that.
That is. Well, when we made it, I said to you, you watch, people will catch all kinds of stuff using
Yeah, we
this.
shouldn't have called it finding Fingermark because it turns people off. They think, oh, I don't have Fingermark in
My area, no.
But,
We'll change the name,
Maybe.
yeah.
Now, does the barometer affect fishing on the close reefs at all? That's Jack. He asked a question before about fishing the new moon or full moon on the reefs.
For
On
Fingermark.
the close in reefs.
Barometer affects everywhere actually. Well, not so much the reefs. It's more shallow coastal waters up to kind of 12, 15 odd metres, where you get a barometer that's no longer steady if it's fluctuating too much, or it's moving a lot more than the traditional tenths, 3/10 for the day. But it's one of those things. If it is erratic, if it is more than the usual daily amount, that because it changes with the tides in and out, it will affect inshore fishing. But at the reef, no, it's not such a problem whatsoever in deeper waters.
Urka has said, hey team, hoping you guys might be able to shed some knowledge on the bioluminescence and phosphorus in regards to feeding.
I know a lot of people do say that when you see phosphorus and all that, and luminescence, that the fishing goes very quiet, and it does actually slow down. And I think that's because predators can see their prey a little bit easier if they move around too much. And whether the fish learn that not to swim around too much because it gives them away, I'm really not sure. It's something that I've never really studied or looked into so much. So Mrs. Marine Biologist here should know a bit more about that, but you never studied that, did you?
Sorry, I was reading the next question.
Oh, were you?
What was that?
Bioluminescence.
How it affects fish feeding? I don't know.
No, you never studied that,
mostly
did you?
I did estuary
Yeah,
sort of stuff. But I love it. I especially love it on the game boat when I go to the
She
toilet.
flushes the toilet in the night and you hear a giggle because the dunny water's circulate and it lights up like a bloody sparkler.
And then I run outside and splash.
Easily entertained.
I'm very easily entertained.
But yes, it does affect fishing, and it's got something to do with movement. Everything that seems to move a bit in the water gives off a little bit, and maybe that's why fish are a little bit more wary when that happens. I'm really not sure, to be honest, mate. There's things in the fishery that, I still don't know about too much.
Well, most of the time, if you're fishing in the daytime, you don't know if there's bioluminescence there or not.
Well, in the daytime, it wouldn't be an issue. No.
Townsville Channel is still being dredged, this is Glenn, and taking forever to settle down. Now out over the top of Maggie and hitting the Fingermark spots. Will they move closer to the island looking for cover?
It's hard to say, mate. They're probably just spread out for a while. They'll move away from the channel. The disruption of the silt and the noise and stuff like that. They will move away from the region, but they'll come back. That's for sure. Yeah.
Number one best spots for Spanish around Townsville.
Around Townsville, well, this time of year you get a lot of the bigger mackerel. Actually, I was going to talk a lot about the fishing, and we're actually talking a lot about that now. So anyway, shit happens. The mackerel, you'll get the larger specimens, not so much your migratory, your first years that come down from north to south during the winter period. Those migratory schools in big numbers come down the shipping lane with the yakkers and the pillies and all that. So that's what happens there with those. But inshore, you will, around the points, your deeper holes, like Salamander, just around the Cape itself, 20 foot. Some of those places that have a good trench, good pressure hitting them. Some will have good current hitting them, others might not. So if you go to an area and you don't see much current, go to another isolated bommy headland or something like that where you do find a bit of current. Probably not so much on neap tides, do it on your bigger tides. Acheron is a very well-known spot for big mackerel. Cordelia Rock, exactly the same on the eastern side of Cordelia there. We used to get a lot of big Spaniards there. And these are things that I'm talking, 20 kilo fish, 25 kilo fish, even bigger. And of course, Albino Rock and Chilcot Rocks up around the Palms, Barber Island, all great spots for Spaniards. There's so many. There's a lot of structured headlands and that kind of thing are the best places to look. And troll some bigger baits if you want to chase the big Spaniards and risk a bit of ciguatera. It's up to you. But I used to mostly target in the competitions down there. They used to have comps for biggest mackerel and that. We used to rig up marlin baits with 3 or 4 hooks in them and troll them around. But personally for food fish and charter clients, we used to do Spaniard trips out in the shipping lane when the sort of 7 to 8, 9, 10 kilo fish used to come through.
We were going to do a course on Spanish mackerel, but then we thought, what's the point? They're so endangered. There's none left.
Yeah, might not be able to film it. I might not be able to catch one. Yeah, one day we'll get around to doing that. So, but yeah, mate, they're the sort of kind of areas you want to be looking at, and you want to be doing it on your larger tides, particularly up towards the dark moon.
What do you reckon about a Robin Sierra Series rod and a Stradivarius 300?
Stradivarius?
Yeah, that's what it says. I think that's a violin.
Oh. I haven't used them, mate, to be honest. And to be honest,
probably Stradic.
Yeah, the most common.
It would have.
I use custom rods these days. I've got a mate who's been making rods for me for 35 years, and Ronnie Farron from Salty Dog Rods in Townsville. So yeah, there's a lot of rods and reels out there that I haven't used, mate. And
you don't go to the tackle shop reel.
No, and I've got mostly Finor spin reels and overheads and cabos, the quantum reels as well, and yeah, I haven't had to sort of upgrade because they're pretty good.
The rods last forever. The reels, you service them. We don't really buy a lot of new stuff. No. So. He had so much left over from the charter days. He's got 8 of everything.
I've got boxes of them out there.
Yeah. So we don't really go into tackle shops much in the rod and reel capacity. We did go in to make the gear and tackle cheat sheets about 8 or 9 months ago. We went through and had a look at what was there and what he would buy if he was going to purchase something. And they are in our free training.
Yeah, and I listen to what other people tell me as well. And you know the products that work a little bit better. So, but yeah, mate, I haven't actually used those ones you're talking about. So.
Do you chase whiting, brim and grunter in the winter on alvies? Do you use alvies?
Years ago when I was a kid, yep, we used to use alvies and do a bit of beach fishing and stuff up here, not the beach fishing that you do down south. I've done a little bit of whiting, not much, but
mostly you catch whiting for bait.
Yeah, and we used to use them, the legal size whiting for big barra, and we'd go and use a cast net to catch those. But not a lot of that style of fishing, mate. Mostly when I was a kid, we used to do that sort of thing. But yeah, as soon as I kind of hit my teenage years, kind of moved towards the estuaries and bought my first boat when I was 15 and started chasing barras, jacks and all that sort of stuff, yeah.
Do you hear a barra being caught on the Sunshine Coast much? That's from Ross.
Yeah, they do. Particularly the last 10 years, they're starting to show up in reasonable numbers in pockets down there, and Great Sandy Straits, we've got some students catching them down there, and they're in pretty good numbers. They're even catching them on the Gold Coast now as well. More and more getting caught. I think a lot of them might be escapees from barra farms or the impoundments, and they've gone over the walls and survived. The ones that have survived have probably gone out to sea, and in their younger years they will move south and north. They will do coastal movements a fair way. It's mostly when they become female and they get a bit larger that they start to become resident to a region. So, but yeah, more and more numbers are starting to show up a little bit further south, yeah.
My brother Julian wants to know the best bait for Fingermark.
Without a doubt, live squid is good at night, but live herring is good at night, great at night, and great in the daytime. Greenback herring is their most natural food source when they're in their predatory mode, not so much in their foraging mode. They do a bit of both. and sometimes we go out and see. We actually got a really cool screenshot that we put up in our inner circle in Sound Skills 2 a little while ago, and you can actually see. Actually, I think you put it in that Fingermark cheat sheet. You see that big school of greenback herring, big round school, and it's like a horseshoe, and in the middle of it, you can see about 6 Fingermark and all the herring around them.
Yeah, what was I doing the other day that I put that in? That was only like a week ago. There's a blog you got coming out on Fingermark. Oh, that's our Fingermark blog. Yeah,
there's a screenshot in there and it shows it.
One blog, our most recent blog. If you go to our website and go to the blog, yeah, that's a groovy thing. That's a groovy.
That was an awesome screenshot.
Yeah, really good screenshot.
But yeah, mate, honestly, without a doubt, your greenback species, there's a variety of them. They all work really, really well. Mud herring as well, they work good. And small potty mullet, they work good as well. So that'd be, I mean, if you can't find greenbacks, that's when you go and chase your little mullet and stuff like that.
Clara said, a safety question on EPIRBs and flares. Apart from using the radio, would the next step be EPIRBs if there was no response on the radio? Mainly only if you're grave and imminent danger.
Yeah, EPIRB at the last.
The choppers.
Yeah, that gets quite expensive.
Got a flat battery just outside the ramp. I would be trying to wave down someone, use the radio.
Yeah.
But if it's getting dark, it's chopping up, there's a storm coming, the forecast is bad, and you have to get out of there, then definitely use your EPIRB.
EPIRB, yes. But first up, try and use your flares if you have no radio contact. And even up in Cooktown where you are, mate, there's quite a lot of traffic going up down. There's a few of the commercial boys, the trout lads in Cooktown. They're up and down and around the place a bit. Lots of other boats. It's getting a bit more popular up there now. So, yeah, just wait for the boats and get the flares out.
Before EPIRB's going to call a chopper.
Yeah. And
they are monitored all the time. As soon as you set that thing off,
yeah, there
will be people looking for you.
Yeah.
And it's normally grave and imminent danger. Is the boat sinking? Are you really in trouble?
Yeah. And you do have a number of flares, so if it's getting a bit later in the day and you haven't actually seen any boats visually, maybe just set one off anyway, because you might not be able to see a boat that's over the horizon, which is 4 mile, but they might see your smoke.
Yeah. And that's if you're not sinking. That's if you've just broken down. If you're sinking, obviously, yes, definitely.
Yeah. Or if you know if there's a 30-knot change coming the next day, then maybe
you need to get out of there.
Yeah, it's a circumstantial thing more than anything. But try your flares and your safety gear first, and it always pays to have a good VHF. Get a really good antenna, a high one as well. And you'll be fine. You'll be able to get in contact with anyone up that way.
We actually always take a satellite phone.
We take a sat. Yeah, we got sat phones. We've got
now on the big boat. We've got Starlink, but it doesn't help with him on the little boat. So
we always keep the sat phone on the little boat.
A sat phone, but you know what? You can get those Garmin Go now.
InReach.
Garmin InReach, and you can send a text.
You can send text on. Yeah, they're a great little tool.
And
look up Garmin InReach.
Yeah, Garmin InReach, and if you're in a remote area with not a lot of boats around, and you're worried about breaking down, you've only got one motor. It's a bit of a risk assessment. I would be getting one of those Garmin InReach and texting, so you can always contact someone even outside of radio range. It's a satellite.
Actually, I believe pretty soon the iPhones are now coming out with sat phone with an option for sat phone.
Not in Australia yet, but in America.
No, but they will be coming. So that'll eliminate the need for sat phones. So
if you have it
just upgrade your phone, mate, and that's going to make life so much better.
Upgrading a phone to that phone is probably going to cost $2,000, and the Garmin InReach is probably a 50th of that.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
Much of a muchness, really.
Yeah. I'm getting behind. Best barra session, Troy said, best barra session I had was a week after the big floods years ago in Townsville. Caught 100 plus in a week on gold bombers.
Cool.
Jared said you were in Hinchy chasing barra in some shocking wind. That was our filming.
That was our top water film invitational.
It was.
It was a challenge.
It was virtually cyclone.
And we only had a certain amount of time to film.
Yeah.
We had a filming cut-off period, and it was the start of the trades. It was the interchange period was on. Your small bite windows, and we had a week of like 30, 35 knots, and we just sat behind Gould Island for a week and twiddled our thumbs, chasing trout and cod, and that was a bit of fun.
Yeah.
In the protection
and
there.
Getting a saltwater barra top water is not the easiest thing to do anyway.
No, it's the hardest thing to do because you have to have a number of things line up. I'm not
going to get them off the bottom.
Yeah, and you got to get them off the bottom. Yeah, I mean you can do it around snags and gutters and drains for the little ones and all that, but that's not what I like. I like to catch big ones in open water. So yeah, the video is pretty cool.
Yeah, the video is pretty cool. So the question was, you're in Hinchy chasing barra in some shocking wind. Does the wind affect the barra massively or just the fishermen?
The initial wind will affect the barras in the shallows, yes, until they kind of get used to it. It's actually, it has a little bit of its own local barometer effects on the water, pushing down, creating a little bit extra pressure. So they don't like that kind of thing, and especially when it's sudden. So usually after a few days of strong wind, then you've got a chance of seeing a few more barras come back on the bite. And of course, yes, it does affect the fishermen, and it shuts down a lot of areas. Because when we were at Hinchinbrook, we could only fish one spot. The rest of the channel was exposed. I've probably got about
there was 2 foot waves crashing in.
I've probably got about 15 spots where I could regularly catch big barra topwater in the channel, but I could only fish one. So yeah, it does affect fishermen too, trust me.
He was getting pretty cranky.
Yeah.
Someone said they caught barra at Goodna. I'm not surprised. Threadies our students have caught plenty of threadies up there.
Yeah.
And I was at the
barras
Tinny and Tackle show once, about 10 years ago, and spoke to a professional fisherman there, and he said he got 100 kilos of barra of fillets out of the
Morton River.
Brisbane River.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're there.
They're there. Actually, I think I might have heard of one. Did one get caught in the Tweed or something this year? The first one get caught down there, I heard.
Yeah, meatery.
Yeah, big one.
I saw a photo of it.
Yeah.
Troy said, don't know about eating bills, but nothing wrong with the bronze whaler. Yummo. Some small bullies are actually really good eating.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm doing a recipe book.
That's it.
Good hooks, those true turns. I know, he doesn't use them. I don't know.
I don't use I used to use them on my charters when we used to use reef baits out there. They are a good hook. I used to use them years and years ago when I ran charters off Townsville.
Now use the Carly Cat.
Now it's more live baiting. Well, I don't even really bait much at all now. We just lure fish. The last 15 years is mostly lure fishing. I'll change over to liveys on occasions when we need to, but 90% of our fishing now is just all lures. Yeah.
Troy said, Jacks in winter, some say they shut down. I caught my biggest during the winter months. Your thoughts? Do they shut down or just become less aggressive?
No, they don't shut down entirely. It's probably more about waiting for warmer water to run off on your run-out tides.
Do you find the sharks are not as bad in the cooler months in far north Queensland?
They do back off a tiny bit. Although we actually got out the other day, we had a chance to go fishing for a change, and Karen and I went for a run out towards Fitzroy Island and doing some more recon in the area here, because we haven't fished here a lot since we moved here, and found some good spots. And I mean, Kings Point's one that's very well known for Fingermark and that, and we got around the corner and we were met with 15, 18 knots of wind, even though it was a 10 knot forecast, so kind of put a dampener on where I really wanted to go and have a look. But we played around there and ventured a bit wider and around the corner a little bit further, and we found a couple of spots, and there were some boats fishing on the traditional areas where you always see the boats, but we didn't bother going there. Of course, I like to find my own stuff that's a little bit away from other people, where other people fish, and we got a nice golden trevally. There was a nanny, and in near the headland there, and then I sort of moved out a bit deeper and found a little bit of an area and moved to the right side of the current for it, and then all of a sudden, massive school of big fingermark. and pulled up above them, dropped the jig down straight away, bang. We're in 35 metres of water. It's pretty deep out around there, and I had it halfway up and a shark ate it. And then all of a sudden on the side image and underneath us on the down image, sharks everywhere. There was none there to start with, but during that initial fight, in that minute and a half before I could get it halfway up, there was sharks come from everywhere because I could hear that fish struggling.
Trevally up earlier.
Yeah, that was in closer. That was. They don't seem to eat the golden trevallies as much as they.
Like the
they only eat the prized fish. Yeah. So you will still have shark problems in winter. Don't worry. But there are periods of the year where they're a little bit worse than others. I think it's got something to do with, the bulls might remain ashore, but it's not just the bulls. There's the pig-eyed bulls. There's a bunch of different whalers species that are causing these problems. And I think you might find that some of those species are still around, but others will move back offshore.
Tips on fishing lures such as prawns and vibes for threadies?
All the better tips are in the courses, of course, but try and keep it natural. Try and keep your vibes natural colours if you can. Herring.
Go to Barraconbo. We've sort of mentioned that our gear and tackle cheat sheet has what you use. We don't know what Barraconbo's on the market at the moment.
Yeah, there's a variety of stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly,
the most important. Everyone thinks it's about the gear. It's not about the gear. It's about where you're fishing.
Yeah.
Where and when.
Yeah.
And how.
Go to your reputable local tackle shops, and there's always a bunch of guys there that know this stuff. So
take a look at our courses. Honestly, the students just cannot believe what they've learned and how easy we make it. It's really so much more a better use of your money than buying new gear.
Yeah.
You'll find that
a new rod's not going to catch you more fish, mate.
No,
Your best investment is knowledge.
Yeah.
You think about it. You got anywhere between 3 and 10 grand's worth of sounders on your boat. You've got a bunch of rod and reels that are anywhere between $300 to $800 each. The list goes on and on. Fuel, the whole lot. That doesn't catch you any more fish.
200 lures at $10 each.
What catches you more fish is knowing where, when, and why.
Regards to Fingermark in winter, when they're in more of a congregation, will they go to deeper structure or estuary mouths?
Probably a little bit more like deeper structures. That's in estuaries as well as inshore kind of regions as well.
Is 8412 a good unit?
84 series are brilliant. Yep.
Any tips for school mackerel?
Schoolies. Years ago, everyone used to anchor up and use pillies and burley. Just if you're going across a bay and you start seeing garfish skip out of the water, have a good look around, and or even herring, and use metal slicers. For doggies, I'd use maybe your 3-inch ones are a better option. Save you 6 inches and all that for Spaniards and your bigger greys and that sort of thing. So metal slicers are a really great way of catching mackerel. And even when the current drops out and they stop taking pillies in the run and all that sort of stuff, you will still catch them on the slicers. And that's the best thing about it. Even if they drop down a bit, you drop the slicers down to the bottom and just crank them back really fast, and you'll get them having a shot on the retrieve up.
I fish in Barada Creek, Townsville. One time I caught a weird silver-looking snakefish. Looks like a long-nosed fish but sharp teeth.
That'll be a hairtail.
I released it.
It'll be either a hairtail or a wolf herring. If it was slooper, if it was super slippery, it would be a wolf herring. They're full of bones. They make good strip baits for reef. They make great troll baits for big mackerel, but they're horrible eating. You do get the smaller hairtail up here, but they're generally caught at night time. But if you caught it in the deep hole where it's a bit darker down there, they're not a common capture in the creeks. They seem to be more around wharves, and like the Townsville Harbour, it's full of them in winter. It's chockers, and they make a good mackerel bait too. I snip a bit of the tail off and cut a V out so it looks like a fish. Well, I used to when I used to do that sort of thing years ago. So it was either wolf herring or a hairtail, mate.
The best weather app you use for wind and swell predictions, if you Google Ryan Moody weather apps, we've got a blog on it. We wrote it, maybe it's a month old.
Yeah.
So jump on there and he goes through and it shows you exactly.
Always have a look at your weather stations that are when you're close to a weather change coming up the coast and you think, you know, if they've forecasted you got one more good day. Always have a look though in the mornings before you go on the AIMS sites, on the remote weather stations. Have a look, you know, 100, 200, 400 k's south of you and see what's happening. See if that's ridging up, getting close to you or not. That way you can work out when the winds are going to arrive. But we explain all that in the blog.
Ryan and Karen, my question is, how would you rate barra fishing in October around the Lucinda area, and would you have any tips for best results?
Best results stuff, unfortunately, is in the courses.
Yeah, barra
but it is a good time of year. Yeah, it is a great.
October is a good time of year.
October is a very
down
good.
there in October.
We will be back down there in October
to finish doing some more advanced stuff for barra basics.
Barra basics and refilming some of the other demo videos that we filmed 10 years ago.
Back on YouTube again. Thoughts on the new Queensland life jacket rules? Massive change over previous rules. Ridiculous when crabbing in half a metre of water. Yeah,
I know, that's pretty contentious. It's one of those things. I mean, yeah, life jackets are definitely good to have on younger people, especially if you've got kids that can't swim, regardless of the size of your boat, really. Yeah.
When I was with Parks and Wildlife, we brought in compulsory life jackets on our boats 15 years ago. It was an absolute pain in the ass. In the heat of summer, you always got a life jacket on. And I said, of all the police boats, the fisheries boats, the marine park boats, how many people have fallen overboard without a life jacket and drowned when it's compulsory to have 2 people on the boat? In fact, how many people have even fallen overboard? And the answer was 0.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand, you know, bar crossings and if you're single by yourself in there doing those situations.
It's dangerous, and if the weather comes up and you're thinking, my God, can my boat handle this? I'm frightened. Of course, put it on. But when you're in the Hinchbrook Channel on a calm day...
Yeah, I know. It comes down to common sense, but unfortunately the bureaucrats don't think like that. They don't have common sense. We all know that. There's some pretty stupid rules around these days, as we all know. You can't fly a drone within 100 metres of a whale in case it flies down its blowhole and cuts its lungs to pieces. There's a shitload of rules that are just ridiculous, honestly. But, yeah, unfortunately you've got to put up with it, otherwise you get a fine. So I can see some merit in some of the life jacket changes, but yeah, some of it's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, and lots of people, you know, if your boat tips over, having a life jacket on, you know, it's helpful at times.
Well, you could get a knock in the head,
you can get a knock,
especially if you're by yourself.
Well, yeah, but a lot of them are those jackets where you've got to pull the thing to make it blow up.
And so if you're unconscious...
Get a knock in the head, you're not blowing that. And what if the boat tips over on top of you, you're wearing a life jacket, you can't get out? It's, you know, there are just so many things. You know, driving a car is so dangerous. They don't ban that.
No.
But, you know, COVID, they lock us all up and one person dies because they didn't have a life jacket on. Everyone's got to wear one. It's...
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, that's just us.
Bureaucrats are very frustrating people.
G'day guys, Johnny B from Victoria, but spend June to September in mags fishing, must be in North Queensland, eh? Where would I chase a barra around that arena, please? Oh, does he mean Magnetic Island? We're not quite sure what you mean, Charlie.
Mags.
Yeah, might be a, you know, how it just types different stuff.
Yeah, so maybe just clarify, mate.
Maybe clarify that, yeah. Put a Starling Mini on the lesser boat as well, they're quite portable. We actually, when we went down to Hinchy to do the topwater film, our Starlink actually shit itself. The modem. The modem shit itself. And so I borrowed one off my mate. He had one on his houseboat. He had a Mini on there. And it worked fine. It was just a tad slower, but it worked great. We're going to get one for the truck when we finally get away and do a couple of... But Starling, to their credit, gave us a whole new unit. Yeah, they did. And it's like 3 or 4 years old, our unit. Yeah, I've just installed it actually. Yeah, they gave us a whole... Gen 3, isn't it? Yeah, upgraded it and everything, cost us nothing, so that was pretty good.
Yeah, yep.
A couple of years ago I lived at Taylor's Beach in Erringham, caught lots of good whiting in Victoria. Do you regularly use garfish for bait and what for?
I used to use garfish a lot for big barra, actually. If the mullet were a little bit hard to catch or they weren't around, I would always look for gar. I mean, gar don't stay alive as long. That's why I've always kept 2 bait tanks. If you overload a bait tank or you put too many other species in there with gar, they'll die reasonably quick. But if you keep a reasonable number, don't overload your tank and just put gar only in the tank, they will last, 2/3 of the day before they cark it. And I used to always gather my bait just before the fishing session, so it was always a timing thing. I knew where I had to be when, so I'd always allow myself time to get my bait and be where I needed to be. But yes, live gar was fantastic bait for barras. Great for bloody mackerel too, on your gang hooks and putting behind the wog heads and all that sort of stuff. So.
And if you have a plate boat, take a look at our blog on
live bait, built-in live bait tanks.
Built-in live bait tank, non-plumbed, because Ryan's drilled holes under his boat, built in a compartment, and it's so good at keeping
fully sealed compartments. They're a lot harder to do on press boats. If you're going to do it on a press boat, you need a good boilermaker, and it's got to be a thicker pressed, some of your thickest pressed hulls. But yeah, plate boats, it's a lot easier and it's really good. And it also makes a great toilet for the ladies, as Karen knows.
That's my loo. And really good for a recovering fish, smaller fish with barotrauma.
Sometimes we let the fish sit in there for a little while.
Let them sit in there and recover
for a bit, and then we let them go.
After we've vented them, or
vent them, and then we put them in there for a bit, and then let them go.
Yeah. If we release them and they sort of turn upside down, we grab and put them in that tank, and they come good, don't they?
Yeah, they come really good. Yeah. Yep. And swim off like a champion.
What is a good tidal run do you recommend for fishing flats? That's from Addison.
Well, most of your flats fishing should be done on larger tides. It gives you the higher part of the tides gives you the opportunity to get in near the banks and fish various habitats, and then when with that little bit more movement, you've got fish moving off faster, you've got bait moving off, you've got a lot more stuff moving around, and you can follow the flats out and fish drain entrances and things like that. So you'll find a lot of those fish that do move around on the flats do like the bigger tides anyway.
So Kathy that asked the question about the Barra October around the Cinder said that they're actually currently doing Barra Basics. It's incredible. Wasn't hoping for any extra cheat information, just wondering if October is a decent time.
You can ask in the study group, the Facebook study group, if you're one of our members. Jump in there and put in a few questions, and I'll give you a few hot tips in there.
Yeah, and we'll be chatting to people probably when we're down there in October.
And Barra Basics is going to have a lot of the conceptual videos are going to be changed and different.
It was our first course, and we've learned lots since then.
Yeah, and we kept a lot of the advanced stuff for in the chat and everything because we didn't want to put it in the course straight up for various reasons. But now we've got extra security. Now, so we're going to bring a lot of that advanced out and rebuild the concept videos and demo videos.
Make it look more, and using the drone
more,
Steven, better ways to shoot tidal ripples and things, little nuances that
you'll be blown away
about.
Yeah.
We've developed better ways to shoot that stuff and show it. So yeah. Todd said we're running out of questions, so we'll be probably wrapping up pretty soon, and it has been over an hour.
Well, I have kind of spoken a bit about the fishing as well.
Todd said, I'm about to upgrade a bigger boat. Have you heard or know anything about an Allison 6.55 fisherman?
Allison, I think they're the fiberglass boats. Were they built in the Burdekin? Am I thinking of the right ones? I have heard of them, and I have heard some good raps about them. Actually, I think, is that one of the boats Steve-O's got down in Brizzy? I know he's happy with it.
Not sure.
Yeah, but if it's the Allison I'm thinking of, there is some, I've heard some pretty good reports about them.
Yes, it was Johnny B. It was Magnetic Island he was talking about.
Yeah, and what was that for? What species again?
I think it was...
Mackerel?
No, I think it was barra. Johnny B from Victoria. Spend June to September in Magnetic Island. Where would I chase barra around that area, please?
Oh, you'd probably have to come around towards Picnic Bay and West Point and all that area there, mate, where the mangroves are.
Or go up the Bowley River.
You could dart over to the mainland and go to the Bowley, Shelley Beach, headlands there, and that sort of thing. And
Ryan reckons the Bowley River is one of the best barra rivers in Australia.
well, it certainly was back in my day. There was that many monster barra, you know, it was insane. Yeah. But you also, if you're at Maggie and you got a boat, I mean, it's only a sort of 8 mile run across the bay to Cape Cleveland headlands, and you got Crocky and Alligator Creek up in the bay. Pardon me, even though you're staying on Maggie, you know, it's not a bad run across there. Just be careful. Oh no, that time of year you should be right. You don't get too many inshore afternoon sea breezes that time of year. It's mostly those land breezes in the mornings. So yeah, if it does blow in the morning, you might find it backs off around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then you can run across the bay then. But yeah, lots of good barra fishing over there.
Barra Basics will show you when to go up the creeks, when to fish the headlands, when to fish the rock bars.
Yep. But on Maggie itself, more likely West Point region, Cockle Bay.
Also looking for a new boat but don't know what to buy. What's best for that area to get to the reefs and spend up to a week or two on board, but also be able to get in close.
Oh,
you can't have everything. I've been looking at a Noosa Cat 3700. Love your work. Thanks for the great
37 footer. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different boats out there now. There's a lot of boats I haven't even been on. But yeah, I think the Noosa Cats have got a pretty good rap.
Spend a week or two on board. You need something.
Yeah.
A little bit of space, eh?
Yeah, 40-foot black watch. Well, sometimes there's not even enough space for us on that.
Well, when we have a full contingent of people on board.
Yeah.
But the good thing about that is, the best thing about the boat is the water maker.
Yeah.
No short, shitty boat showers on our boat. I can wash my hair and shave my legs. Yeah. We have how many showers a day?
I know.
Yeah, there you go. I fish Cape Cleveland all the time, but never for barra. All right. Yeah, you might struggle in a big boat like that, though. Oh,
yeah, sorry. If you want to get in close to the flats, 37...
I'm sorry, you're going to have to do what we do.
Yeah.
Have the 40-foot caravan, so you have the 37-foot Noosa Cat, and then you have a smaller boat.
Small boat, and tow it behind, yeah. Yeah, that's not going to allow you to get in. Sorry, mate, when you said in closer, I thought you might have meant the islands or something like that. But yeah, you're certainly not going to have much joy trying to get into areas for barra and that sort of stuff.
In a bigger boat.
Yeah.
It'll make it a bit tricky. And catching bait, make it a bit tricky.
Yeah.
Anyway. Glenn said, thanks for the live feed, always great info, Salmon and Fingermark member. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, mate.
Rowan said, if you have one 8412 unit and 2 transducers, do you have to unplug them to use each?
It all depends. 2 transducers, are you meaning like 2 different kinds of side imaging transducers, or a dedicated 2D and a side image? Or 3-in-1 we call them. With the 8412s, you have an orange pin, a 12 slot orange pin connector, and what that does, that will take one of the side imaging, whether it's a GT51 or a GT56, and then there's an 8-pin slot, the blue one, that will allow you to connect a separate 1 kilowatt dedicated 2D only, up to whatever frequency you want to use, high, medium or low, but it only gives you one frequency. You can't do dual. You can't get a low, high, wide. It'll either be or a low, medium. It'll just be low, medium or high wide. or I don't even have to make a narrow beam now in the single frequencies. I think it's mostly high wide. So yeah, that's the options there. But if you've got a GT56 and a GT51 that you want to use on the one unit, you pretty much have to unplug because they both require the 12-pin slot. There is
Can you get a little T-piece?
There is a switch. I think it's called a Madgar switch. Some guys invented. If you go to the Garmin UHD page and ask on there, he's made up a little.
What about Garmin support would know?
No, they don't have anything as yet. But it might be, they might. And then the next models that come out, they might have 2 orange pins in there. I don't know. I'm not privy to that information. But for now, I think there is a box with a switch on it where you can change from one transducer to the other, and I think it's called a Madgar switch. If you go to the Garmin UHD community page, if you ask the question on there, someone will point you in the right direction. That's where I've seen it pop up.
Glenn said that referring to the other fellow, you need a tender and a houseboat and a 50-foot Noosa cap.
Yep.
Someone said thoughts on Haynes Hunters.
Haynes, oh God, I haven't been in Haynes for a long time. They're a very popular boat. They're deeper V's. They're good riding. They've pretty much had great raps all these years. So there's a lot of older ones getting around now that can be easily refurbished and that. So a good old hull, but like all deep V's, they're good in the sea, but they're not that fuel efficient, unfortunately. So
we met the owner of Haynes Hunter, remember? We bumped into someone that knew him, was on his boat, his like $12 million yacht.
Oh yeah, that was down in was it Craig?
With
down
Busby Moreau.
Yeah, with
Jeremy
Marie from Busby Moreau.
There's a band.
Yeah, we pulled up at Percy Islands down there right off Mackay, and amazing place. It's a beautiful place if you ever get a chance to go there. And we pulled up on the beach, and I was flying the drone around. Karen was having a swim, I think, or whatever. And this little tender runs in from this big boat and comes in, and next minute Jeremy Moreau is right next to us, and the boys are having a beer. And I recognise a few of the other lads from some of the other fishing publications and stuff. One of the fishing shows.
I'm like, oh my God, it's Jeremy Moreau. I'm such a big fan.
And he goes, Moody, Jeremy. Yeah. So we ended up taking him for a fish in the afternoon, and
he caught his first
Red Emperor on a jig. He never used jigs. He never used jigs before, but he lost the first 5 or 6 fish to sharks, and then he got a Red Emperor up after that. So yeah, I don't think we've put those videos up yet. It's still all to be edited. We just haven't had a chance. But that was
from Haynes.
Greg, I think it was.
They make those big Princess cruises.
Cruises
now.
Mm.
So they know how to make boats. They've been doing it a long time.
Yeah. But the old Haynes hull's great, mate. Lots of history, good riding hulls, and if you can find an old one getting around, just do it up. Check the stringers, check the transom, and
you can buy new ones.
Can you still get them?
Yeah.
Oh,
pretty sure.
The original Haynes Hunter, I'm thinking of.
Well, it just says Haynes Hunter brand.
Yeah.
I don't know. Pretty sure you can still buy Haynes Hunters.
I think they changed the name to not a Haynes
Signature.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. They're your later ones, but the Haynes, I'm thinking the original
Haynes Signature now they're called.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the original Haynes Hunters. Yeah.
Kathy, who's going to Lucinda, said, "Thanks guys, you're amazing. Would not be half the fisher people we are now without your many years of knowledge and experience. Your courses are absolutely invaluable. We're loving Barra Basics. You have solved so many questions and helped with so many issues. I cannot recommend your courses enough. Can't wait to get back to Lucinda in October and hope to see you round."
Thank you very much. If you see us, call in and say good day. We don't mind people popping in and saying good day.
Yeah.
Just don't run across my lines.
It's been amazing actually since doing the courses. We've had this whole community grow up around us. We've made
some really good friends.
I mean, that we've taken away with us. Everett's a student, Steve's a student, Max is a student, Sam's a student.
Yeah.
All these guys that come fishing with us now, we met through the courses. So
that's it.
Kieran said, if you have 2 units, you can swap between the transducers over the network or use the Madgar switch.
Yeah.
But you have to have 2 units.
You've got to have...
That's what we have.
Yeah,
2
yeah,
units.
yeah. You go into the source area. If you've got 2 units, 51 in one unit, 56 in the other. And even when you make up your combos between the 2 units, you can actually go in and you can chop and change. You just got to go to the source area and it'll tell you whatever transducer you want to put in that position.
Yeah, Charlie, too many spoondoodles for the black watch. Yeah.
Yeah, trust me.
We would have another house. We would have an investment property now if we did not have that boat.
I know.
It is a money pit of the highest order.
Big white boats.
We would pay for this house if we didn't have that boat.
I know.
But we love it. What can you do?
Exactly.
How do I jerk my prawn lure?
It depends on the lure. Some prawn lures are not really meant for jerking. Sorry. It depends on what style it is. I mean, with the Holt prawn, the one that gets the little legs going underneath, they're more for a constant retrieve to get the legs constantly moving with a few little tiny jerks. And there's other prawn lures have the towing point more on the top of their head, where you can use them in a deeper aspect and you can get them to bounce up and down. Their feelers move all over the place. Different prawn lures have different uses, basically. Yeah, and some of them you can use. I mean, you can use the whole prawn down deeper as well, but it's more of we find that sort of works a bit better on a constant retrieve, slow retrieve. So, yeah, it just depends on the lure, mate. Get it in the pool, see what the slow retrieves do, see what a little bit of jerking up and down does, see what makes it look good, basically. What makes you want to jump in and eat it?
Yeah, he practices in the pool. Not practices in the pool, he tests all his lures out in the pool.
Yeah, or anything new that comes out, I just go and have a look at it and stick it in the pool and I kind of work out.
Or in the shallows, but mostly in the pool before we even go.
Yeah.
Don't you? Get out there in the pool and fishes in the pool.
Yeah.
Paul Vaccaro, I know you wrote something before, but I'm not quite sure if we understand the question. Went on charter at Broadbeach soon, much different than down south in Corio Bay. Are you asking if you're going on charter in Broadbeach as in the Gold Coast soon, and you want to know how different it would be than Corio Bay?
I mean, I fished Corio Bay, mate, but I haven't fished Broadbeach. I don't even know where that is.
Well, there's a Broadbeach and on the Gold Coast. But is he fishing inshore or offshore?
Well, you got different water temperature changes. You got different species. You've got Corio Bay.
Need a bit more information.
Yeah, a bit more information, mate.
But we are running out of time, so you'll have to make it fast. What should I flick for lures for Shoal Bay, Northern Territory? What should I use for Shoal Bay in Northern Territory lures? Well,
in those bigger tide regions, you don't get a lot of chance to fish deep holes and stuff like that. So generally, and quite often, out the front, I mean, there is the rock out the front there that everybody knows. But I would probably look more towards shallower plastics and shallow hard bodies, not so much around the deeper areas. I mean, around that rock out the front, it gets a little bit deeper where you can use vibes and that sort of thing on them. But and the holes up the creeks and rivers and that, you don't get a whole lot of time of slower water. So when we went there, we done the best at Buffalo Creek on the way out, fishing the gutters and drains. So there was more fish there than we found over in the bay itself, and that was right where the boat ramp is. And we were just flicking lures up in the drains and runoffs and other certain things that happen where they like to hang out. And but like I say, I haven't spent a lot of time up there. But generally in those large tide areas, the deeper spots where they hang, unless they're a little bit protected, you don't get a lot of time at that style of fishing, like vibes and things like that.
Would you like to try some soft plastics, Ryan? Vagos lures.
Vagos lures. I get sent lots of things, mate. But yeah, feel free if you want to get in contact with us, and we'll have a look at them.
Yeah.
I don't plug everything, of course, but if you want me to have a look at them and give you my thoughts, see if we catch a fish on them, send a photo to you, something like that you can use.
Yeah.
That's about it, really. But yeah, we're not sponsored by anybody. We don't take sponsorship or anything like that. So and my affiliations with Garmin, it's just an affiliation. We're not sponsored. We're not paid or anything.
You just like using their stuff.
Yeah. So.
Johnny B again. Oh, the other fella said he went on a charter and it was much different to Corio Bay.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure, mate. Yeah, different species, different water temperatures. There'll be some crossover species like your flatties and things like that, I'd imagine. And
Yeah.
but you know,
Found it to be so much different.
Yeah.
South and
Yeah.
Geelong. Johnny B again. One last question: inboard stern drive versus shaft for the 37-foot cat.
Well, I've always been a shaft person. I like my shaft.
People are talking about sticking it in the pool and you got some. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Mercruiser style of legs and things like that. So.
It's good for the shallows though.
Oh yeah, you can lift them up and that sort of thing. But you do hear a few issues. So I like my shafts.
Jerking my prawn, playing with rubbers. Are we fishing or what? Glenn,
Oh dear.
you stick it in the pool? Question mark. We're degenerating. We're going to have to jump off soon.
Yeah.
Technique for soft. What is the best technique for plastics?
It depends on the plastic, mate. Depends on the species.
Quite
Depends
a bit of stuff
on.
on our blog.
Yeah, and a lot of the best stuff's locked up in the courses. Well, if it's Barra, yeah, we're going to have some really advanced stuff in this stuff. We're changing updating all the lures and kinds of lures and how to use them and in various situations and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, mate, it just comes down to, you know, if you're winging it and you're starting off, it's all about trial and error. And that's how I started. And that's what I do. Like I said, with every lure I get, the first thing I do is stick it in the pool, have a look at it, see where it's going to work best and how, and I'll use it in those situations.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
Questions are done.
Pretty good. All right, guys, just a reminder, Finding Fingermark, which covers a lot of other species. That course is on sale. I think the card opens tonight, but it's for the next 4 days.
And buy Sounder Skills 2 in conjunction.
Oh yes,
a big discount.
there's
so
an extra
$50 each course if you buy the two together.
Yeah, if you get the two courses together, Sounder Skills 2, which every fisherman should do, even if you're experienced, don't worry, you will learn a shitload or a lot anyway.
Yeah.
So we've been told. But it's you get two together, it's a whole lot more money off again.
Yeah. Oh well, you get money off both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rowan said, when will New Barra Basics course be out? We'll be updating it incrementally.
Incrementally, mate. I've got so many other projects on.
So we're just, when we get an opportunity to upgrade a section of it and we're there and it's working, we will upgrade it and whack it in.
I'll be working on the conceptual videos incrementally now over the next few months, and
We've got the new course that we're working on as well, which is the offshore nanny guy course.
It's not nanny guy, it's just offshore opportunities. It's about all different kinds of
yes,
offshore
that's right, we changed
opportunities. Yeah. So that's half finished, half filmed as well. So I've got a few things going at once. Unfortunately, I've got more things going into Sounder Skills 2 that I'm making.
Damo said, I love Sounder Skills 2, doing better than ever.
Yeah, mate. Once you understand how these things work and how they hide fish from you, and what to do to negate it, how to drive your boat,
how to troubleshoot and cross-reference.
you just become a better fisherman all round. Even without doing our other courses, it'll still help you.
Yeah. But then the other course shows you
where to be when.
Yeah.
But that's why we put the Fingermark course with Sounder Skills 2 as a bundle, because if you do those two together, it'll take your fishing to the next level.
Paul said the
Top
charter
level.
he used was called Fat Hookers. So on that note, is our boat at blue water? Yes, Blade, it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to sign off. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks,
We really
guys.
appreciate
Log on.
it.
Love to see you in one of our courses one day.
To our
And
course members
thanks to everybody.
that do come, thank you.
Thanks for supporting us and keeping our staff in a job and us in a job as well.
Yes.
Really appreciate it, and we will see you on the next live, whenever that be.
Righto.
Cheers.
Bye. Well, let me see if I can turn them off.
Now, this is the hard part. For you it is.
It's true.
See you guys.
Oh.